Have you ever wondered what truly hides behind the words, "the most dangerous criminals"? Some of them calmly stand in front of cameras, crying and pretending to be devastated parents. Others smile while their charges are read out loud. And some insist they are innocent, even when the evidence hits them right in the face. Today you will see 10 stories that show how terrifyingly thin the line is between a human face and a monster. Number 10. Christopher McNab. The man who sentenced himself, Christopher McNab from Georgia, stood in front of the news cameras begging for his 2-week-old baby. He cried, shouted, pleaded. But the very next day, the infant's body was found in the woods. The cause of death was a brutal blow to the head. In court, McNab kept repeating, "I'm innocent." So the judge asked him, "What sentence should the person who did this receive?" McNab confidently replied, "The maximum. Bury them under the jail." The judge looked at him and said, "Then that is your sentence. Life in prison, no parole." Number 9. Franklin Williams. The man who had to be taped shut, Franklin Williams committed 3 armed robberies and led police on a high-speed chase. But that's not why he became known. At his sentencing, he would not stop talking, interrupting the judge dozens of times. After the 12th warning, the judge ordered his mouth to be taped shut. When asked whether he understood the situation, Williams shouted, "Freedom of speech, you can't tape my mouth." He was sentenced to 24 years in prison. Later, the case was reviewed, and a new judge increased the sentence to 33 years. Number 8. Kamya Gamut, the woman who showed zero remorse. Kamya Gamut from Jackson, Mississippi claimed she acted in self-defense. But the evidence told another story. Her boyfriend had been brutally stabbed, cut after cut, blow after blow. In court, she insisted she was lied about, and then began interrupting the judge during sentencing. The judge finally snapped, "You stabbed him. You kept stabbing him. You stabbed him until he was dead. I agree with the family. I hope you die in prison." Her sentence: life behind bars with no possibility of parole. Number 7. Kimberly Kessler. The fugitive who hid for 25 years, Kimberly Kessler lived under a fake identity, avoiding the law for nearly a quarter of a century. But everything ended when she brutally murdered her co-worker, using scissors, and then, according to investigators, tried to dispose of the body. In jail, Kessler behaved like an uncontrollable bomb, screaming, threatening, smearing feces on the walls and throwing it at officers. During her trial, she had to be placed in a separate room because her outburst made normal proceedings impossible. She claimed her court-appointed attorney was a cousin of the victim and accused the entire court of a conspiracy. The verdict was straightforward: life in prison, no chance of release. Number 6. Candrea Cook. A crime committed for easy money. Candrea Cook was only 18 when she and her 17-year-old boyfriend decided to make money through carjacking. The pair used a dating app to lure in a victim. The boyfriend shot the car owner, leaving him seriously injured. 2 days later, they tried to pull off the same scheme and were arrested on the spot. In court, Candrea expected probation. Her mother expected the same, which is why she screamed when she heard the verdict. The judge delivered the sentence cold and clear: 20 years in state prison for your role in this armed carjacking. The sentence was later reduced to 11 years, but the girl's life was already broken. Number 5. Jacob Morgan. The teenager accused of killing his own brother, Jacob Morgan, was 17 when the house caught fire with his 14-month-old stepbrother inside. Investigators claimed the blaze was intentional and that Jacob had knowingly left the baby in danger. But at every hearing, Jacob repeated the same words: "I loved my brother. I would never do that." His voice sounded sincere, but the evidence convinced the court otherwise. To avoid a life sentence, he accepted a plea deal: involuntary manslaughter, unlawful neglect of a child. The judge sentenced him to 15 years in prison. In reality, Jacob served only 7 before being released, forever marked as someone many believe to be a killer, while he insists he was a victim of the investigation. Number 4. Osvaldo Rodriguez. A confession that destroyed a life. Osvaldo Rodriguez became the prime suspect in the death of his 4-month-old child in San Antonio. The baby had a fractured skull and massive brain bleeding, injuries impossible to survive. Investigators insisted Rodriguez was the only one with the infant at the time. In court, he rejected the murder charge and pleaded guilty to a lesser offense: intentional or knowing injury to a child causing serious bodily harm. When the judge asked for his plea, his answer was brief: guilty. The sentence, 50 years in prison. But the worst came moments later. The baby's mother looked him straight in the eyes and said, "You were supposed to protect our son, not destroy our lives." When she began speaking about their second child, Rodriguez suddenly erupted, "Tell her the truth, tell her the whole truth, don't lie to her." He had to be removed from the courtroom immediately. Now he serves his term as a hollow shadow of a father his own family despises. Number 3. Damon Kemp. Roommates. Then victims. Damon Kemp lived with 2 roommates in an apartment in Daytona Beach. Everything seemed normal until both men were found shot multiple times. Police arrived on a burglary call and Kemp unexpectedly confessed right there at the scene. His first court appearance stunned everyone. He sat in a wheelchair, head down, refusing to acknowledge the judge, repeating, "Mr. Kemp, Mr. Kemp, are you listening?" He never answered. The victims' families broke down and had to walk out. Kemp now sits in county jail awaiting trial, silent and expressionless, exactly as he was on the day he took 2 lives. Number 2. Erica Butts and Shanita Cunningham. Torture. No one could imagine Erica Butts and Shanita Cunningham were trusted to care for a 3-year-old girl, the daughter of their close friend. It was supposed to be 2 quiet weeks of babysitting. Instead, it became a nightmare experts later called the worst child abuse case of the decade. The child died from multiple injuries consistent with weeks of torture, beatings, and cruelty. As the judge read the facts, he struggled to contain his emotions. The sounds that little girl must have made are impossible to imagine. The verdict was the only one that made sense: life in prison without the possibility of parole for both women. They were sent to separate prisons and will never see freedom again. Number 1. Anthony Kirkland, a serial killer who admitted he was a monster. Anthony Kirkland is one of Ohio's most violent offenders. He had already served 16 years for killing his ex-girlfriend, but shortly after his release, he began a new killing spree. Over 3 years, he murdered 4 women, including 2 teenagers. When he was arrested after the final killing, he was caught carrying the victim's watch and iPod. In court, he said a line that froze everyone. "They call me a monster, and you know what? They're right." As prosecutors read the charges, Kirkland collapsed to the floor as if fainting. The jury found him guilty on every count. His sentence: death. He now waits for execution on death row at the Chillicothe Correctional Institution. These cases feel unreal, but they happened. They show how dark human actions can be, and why law, justice, and accountability matter. Each sentence is not just punishment. It is protection for those who could not protect themselves.